Burnout, huge issue. I shared some stats in that keynote about how many community professionals, 46% have struggled with burnout in the last year. It is a big issue, and we don't want you to burn out. We want you to be able to build communities for a long time and continue to help people. So that is going to be the topic for our next speaker. She's the CEO of Diversability, an award-winning social enterprise to rebrand disability through community. She ran community for a co-living startup and founded Bloomberg's affinity group for employees with disabilities and allies. Named one of 100 visionary leaders by Real Leaders magazine, she has been featured in Marie Claire, The Guardian, and Forbes. Please give a massive CMX Summit welcome to Tiffany. Yo!
No mic? Oh, now I'm good. Okay. So that was probably the only time I'll ever get a standing ovation, so thank you very much for that. And I also just wanted to thank CMX for recognizing self-care as part of the agenda. I think as community people, our work is so demanding, it can be very exhausting at times, that if we don't take care of ourselves, then our communities will crumble as well. I also wanted to take a little bit of a sidebar just to say that I attended CMX last year, was really inspired, touching on Denise's talk earlier today about creating your topic and your talk description and submitting it, and I ended up submitting through the open call for speakers, and so I get to stand here before you today. So it actually works. So all of that said, I thought that we would start a little bit high level, and I'll start with some definitions. How many of you don't know what self-care is? Okay, because all of you know that you need it. I'll start a little bit high level, we'll go into some definitions, we'll talk about why, and then we'll talk about some strategies and get you on your feet and moving a little bit. So, overall well-being, it consists of these three things: your mental health, your physical health, and your social health. And someone actually tweeted at me yesterday, as Denise was talking about the importance of mental health during her talk, about how mental health is just as important as your physical health. But mental health is just as important as your physical health, which is just as important as your social health. And they're actually all intertwined, so there's a portion of your mental health that is impacted by your relationships, your social health, and how you're taking care of your body, your physical health. So, let's dive a little bit deeper into what is mental health. So, according to the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being in which someone is able to realize their own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to their community. So that can look like a ton of different things. It can be personal development, your relationships, are they positive and respectful? Are you able to identify and manage your own emotions? Are you able to communicate effectively, solve problems, and make decisions? And so all of you guys know this already, but mental health is super important because it results in an improved quality of life. So one of the biggest causes of a mental health condition, which could be depression, anxiety, for a lot of people, post-traumatic stress disorder, is stress. Stress is what happens when you're unable to respond to physical or emotional demands. And I think all of you guys already know what this looks like. It can be irritability, muscle tension, you're dreading work, you're not able to concentrate, you get headaches. And if this is prolonged, it can actually impair your health and impair your relationships and lead to more long-lasting mental health conditions. So there's a little bit of a chain here. So stress is what causes anxiety, and anxiety is what causes overwhelm, and overwhelm is actually what causes burnout. So how many of you guys are feeling kind of burnt out? Yeah. Raise them pretty proud. That should be 46% of you. According to David's stat earlier. And so pretty much the whole reason for this talk is how can we help you manage your stress better? And so there are a lot of things that stress us out. It can be work, we're all here, we're all community managers. It can be our community, it can be school, our relationships, our finances, thinking about the environment, climate change, anyone? Thinking about the past, the future, the present, and 1 in 5 Americans will experience a mental health condition in any given year. So that's 20% of us, 40 million Americans. And then you also think about the role of technology. As much as we all love technology, I see a lot of you on your phones, which is great. You can tweet. That's my Twitter handle. Technology has just extended our working day. I remember I was speaking with one of you, I'm looking at you right now, about how it's just blurred the lines between what is work and what is life. And technology has been great because sometimes it allows us to leave during the day to go take care of our families or whatever we need to, but it just means that we plug back in at the end of the day. And all of those blurred lines has contributed to increased levels of stress. And then also thinking about social media and the things we see on social media has actually led to even more mental health, exacerbated mental health conditions as well. So, the solution to stress is self-care. Woo! Okay, so does anyone know what the definition of self-care is? No? Well, we all think yeah, you can go yell it out. Oh, I heard a murmur, but I'll just pretend that, I'll just tell you what it is. So I looked it up, and self-care is intentional time taken to nurture yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, etc. Intentional time. Self-care is intentional. Just remember that that is part of the definition. And of course, if you are able to have a good self-care practice, that means you have enhanced energy, better health, you're able to cope with work, and of course, manage your stress a little bit better. So you may have seen this earlier, just looked a little bit different. Does anyone remember this from Denise's presentation yesterday? So self-care is like the oxygen mask. So in the unlikely event of an emergency, fit your own oxygen mask first and then care to children and other people. So in order to care for your community, you need to take care of yourself first. So the thing is, we all know that we need self-care. Why don't we do it? Do you want to shout out some things about why we don't do self-care? Netflix is great. Netflix is actually a self-care strategy. Stress about self-care. Not time. Say this. Not prioritized. Okay. So I'm not super savvy with PowerPoint, but I made this. And so here are some of the reasons why, and some of you have mentioned this. You don't have any time, you have other competing priorities. Some of you are managing more than just your work. You have families, you have kids, maybe you have kids with disabilities or have extra needs. We have all this other stuff happening in our life. Then there's the perceived value. If you don't feel the impact of feeling relaxed and zen right away, you're like, what the hell is this? I don't want to do this. And then, not part of our routine. If it's not baked into our routine, we don't do it if we don't create habits around it. Then I think these next two are a little bit interesting. Superhero mindset. I'm better than self-care. I don't need it. I'm a superhero. I don't need to take care of myself. Then there's the care mindset, which I actually think is really relevant within our community. Our community has so many needs. It has so many demands. I need to take care of them first. And then finally, there's the workplace lack of support. And if you remember from David's presentation, what it sounds like community managers need more is more resources to prevent burnout. And it sounds like some of our workplaces aren't able to provide that for us. So all of that said, self-care, it needs to be proactive. Remember, the definition is intentional time taken to nurture yourself. And it needs to be focused on well-being. Think back to that little Venn diagram thing that I'd put together of the intersection between your physical health, your mental health, and your social health. And it needs to be practiced at the macro and micro levels. So most of the time when we receive self-care suggestions, they're actually on the macro level. And these are things that require more time and often cost more money, whether it's going on a destination vacation or buying a gym membership or going to a yoga class or investing in a spa day. But the thing is, self-care doesn't need to be as commoditized and commercialized as it is. So on the micro level, these are some bite-sized self-care strategies that will allow you to stay grounded and energized throughout the day, and they are on demand and you can do them at any time. So remember, when we think about self-care, it needs to be on the macro, so booking that vacation or taking that time off, but it can also be on the micro level, which means every single one of you can do it. And did any of you guys go to Ariel's stretch and meditation this morning? I mean, don't we just want one of those in our pockets every day? And that was free, and that was only 30 minutes. So, here is a nice chart that I made. Self-care is multidimensional. So there are actually 6, and I'll include a link to that a little bit later in the presentation as well, but there are 6 components to self-care. And each one of these has different strategies. So body, mind, spirit, emotions, social, work. And if you wanted to take an assessment, which I'll share again later in the presentation, this will actually walk you through kind of what your own self-care snapshot looks like in each of these 6 categories. And this is not a sales pitch, I just found this online. I'm not affiliated with them, so if it turns out that it gives you things that you don't want to do, you can't blame me later. So all that said, let's go into each one of these. First, we have the body. Are you staying engaged? Are you staying active? How are you treating your body? And that also includes what you're putting in your body, your diet and nutrition. Are you limiting the amount of alcohol that you're intaking? Maybe not during this conference, but in general. And then most importantly, are you getting enough sleep? How many of you guys get enough sleep? And enough sleep's like 7 to 8 hours. Okay, how many of you wish you could get more sleep? Wow, that's so many people. I love sleeping. Maybe we could just like take a 15-minute nap, like for the rest of my talk. So anyway, so some of these bite-sized strategies, I'm gonna get you guys all on your feet for something that you can do. So if you would like, and again, you can participate or not participate if you don't want to, but stand up, we're just gonna stretch, get your body. I had this joke that I was gonna have Ariel come onto my stage and do her stretching thing again. But yeah, just raise your arms up, or if you're like me, just raise one arm up. Lean forward. Lean back. Lean to your right. Lean to your left. Okay, so I had this really funny one. Actually, Ariel did this one today that I really liked, which is as you breathe in, you raise your shoulders, and then as you exhale, you roll them back and down, and then up again. Anyone else feel really tense there? When I did that this morning, I was like, oh my God. Okay, so I have one other funny one. Has anyone ever seen those people doing Tai Chi in the park and they're kind of just like swinging their arms like this? You can hit other people if you know, I'm just kidding. But, so this is actually, when I looked online and I was like, what is like, if you want to get up out of your seat during the workday, you literally can just stand up and start swinging your arms. And your arms are heavy, And don't you just feel so much better now? So that's just an example of like a micro self-care strategy. So on the macro level, some of these things like managing your diet and exercise, those are more things that are macro, they're built into your routine. So then there's the mind. So mental self-care. Do you have a morning and evening routine? How are you managing your time? Are you spending time journaling, reflecting, being grateful? And then I included this little fun icon here, and it's all about how are you talking to yourself, positive self-talk, right? And Denise talked about silencing your inner critic. That is part of mental health, is how you talk to yourself. And so my micro self-care strategy, I think some people call it the 5-minute journal, but we don't have 5 minutes. So I'll do the 2-minute journal, is to complete these 3 questions or prompts. So the first is, I am grateful for, ... I am grateful for. And the second is, what would make today great? What would make today great? And the third is an affirmation, I am ... I am. Now, if anyone feels like they would like to share, does anyone want to share what they are grateful for? And you can just yell it out. CMX, I'm grateful for CMX. Family. I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful for my dogs. What would make today great? A walk. What would make today great? Sunshine? Say this one more time. Making a new friend. And I am. I am strong. Ooh, I like that one. Valued. I am valued. Enough. I am enough. Wow. Whew. That one was good. All right. Then there's the spiritual. So spiritual, it can be rooted in prayer and religion, just, the community gathering, believing in something greater. But it's just this idea of being able to find that place for inner peace. So yoga and meditation and mindfulness kind of fit in here as well. But it can also include just getting out into nature. Someone mentioned what would make today great is a walk. But what about a walk in nature and just enjoying, how beautiful it is outside? And then I also included here volunteering, being able to go out, give back. So with that, I'm actually going to do a breathing meditation. Has anyone ever heard of alternative nostril breathing? Yes? Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through it. This timer moved way more quickly than I thought. It's like, you're running out of time. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and this is actually very helpful, so you use your right hand, so I'm going to mirror you because I'm going to use my left hand. And you pretty much will do something like this, where you put your pointer and your middle finger right in between your eyebrows, and then you'll have your thumb and your ring finger resting on each side of your nostril. So what's going to end up happening here is you're going to hold one side of your nostril and breathe in for 4 seconds, and then you're going, and if you don't want to participate, that's totally fine as well. Just do what's comfortable for you. And then you're going to hold it for 4 seconds and then release out of the other nostril. And then you're going to breathe in for 4 seconds through that nostril that you just released, hold for 4 seconds, and release out of the other nostril. So I'm going to do it with you for a couple. All right, so you're going to thumb on the right nostril, and you're going to breathe 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4. Breathe 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4. Last one. Breathe 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4. And so for those of you who went to Ariel's talk earlier today, she also provided a couple of other breathing strategies. But that one, it kind of takes you to focus on your breath because you're also doing the physical activity of breathing in through each nostril. So then there's the emotional self-care. So with emotional self-care, it's really just recognizing the validity of whatever your emotional state is. There is no bad or good emotions. You're just feeling whatever you need to feel. So for this, I actually, if you feel comfortable, I'd like for you to post an emoji of how you think you're feeling right now to the hashtag. And the interesting thing about emotional self-care is you don't want to ruminate on feeling whatever emotions you're feeling, but just recognize that it is what it is, and you shouldn't feel bad if you're not feeling super happy or super energized. Then there's the social self-care. This fits into the social health category of that overall well-being that we had showed earlier, but it's really about what does your network look like outside of work, your friends, your family, your community? Are there people you can go to ask for help? And do you have interests outside of work? And so all of you are here at CMX Summit. kind of networking. So that was kind of the micro self-care strategy for that. But if you want to take a look at people who had posted their emojis to the hashtag, maybe connect with someone that you didn't understand what their emoji meant, and have a conversation during lunch. And then finally, there's work self-care. So are you getting support from colleagues? What does your work schedule look like? For a lot of us, especially in the US, we're working overtime, we're going home, we're logging in late, we're making ourselves super accessible. But then work self-care also looks like being able to feel like we're valued at work and on a trajectory where we're nurturing our professional development. So that said, go meet someone new during lunch, or head to the venting booth, tag a buddy, and share some of the things that you're going through. So all of that said, self-care is non-negotiable. Self-care is actually a sign of respect for yourself. And so I wanted to close by kind of turning it back over to you. Here are some action steps for kind of bringing self-care practice into what you're doing. And so the key is to start small. You want to set some goals. Maybe it's a calendar reminder to go to bed. But the key is to be consistent. For example, I will meditate at 7 a.m. for 10 minutes every day. And track your progress, see what is and isn't working, and ask yourself why. Maybe that isn't what is really self-care. So for example, for me, I used to have journaling on my to-do list every single day. But it was actually causing me more stress to have journaling on there, and I was like, that's not really self-care for me. Maybe it's going to grab coffee with a friend. So these are 4 questions. What are 2 strategies I plan to practice self-care? Within these 6 different quadrants, where do they fit? What are the barriers? What do I need to overcome these barriers? How am I going to take that first step? And who is going to hold me accountable? And so finally, I wanted to close with some resources. Again, here's this self-care snapshot that you can take again, bit.ly/self-care snapshot, and that will take you right to an assessment that'll probably take you a couple minutes to fill out. A couple self-care apps that I like a lot. One is Shine Text. It's this morning text that kind of pumps you up at the beginning of the day. You just enter your cell phone number, and it'll text you like, hey, Tiffany, you're awesome today. Like, you rock. And then, of course, Headspace and Calm, those are meditation apps. And then this third one is called AlloBud. And I'm not paid by any of these guys, but AlloBud is more of like an accountability, self-care tracking tool. So all of that said, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you all take care of yourselves.